I just wanted to give you guys some examples of where autopilot just doesn't work very well or at all. I think we have a long way to go before robotaxis happen. So this is an interesting road. The lines end up here. If you enable autopilot while the lines are on the road, it'll actually stay in autopilot all the way up this hill. And that's due to the seam in the asphalt right here. It follows that. Works really well, actually. And when I come to the stop sign, it always stops way before the sign. And it kind of freaks out. And see, I'm way back. I'm more than a car length back from the sign, so I'll push the accelerator and then it stops again. So not sure why that happens. Autopilot works fine on this road if you're going this direction. Obviously in the other direction it doesn't work because cars park on the side of the road and you have to cross the yellow lines. Now if someone's coming the other direction and they have to cross the yellow line, normally what you do on this side is just get over in the lane a little more, but autopilot won't do that, so you have to take over so that other people can get through. And it does surprisingly well on these curves right here. Even though the lines are pretty faded, you can see that the lines are almost non-existent in this curve and hill, but it works fine. And we'll come to the stoplight and it stops fine. Now coming up ahead, we've got my ultimate test of autopilot curve. It's a 10-mile-an-hour curve, so I will manually slow it down. And we'll see if it can handle it. Even at 12, let's go down to 10. And even at 10 miles an hour, which is ridiculously slow, it crosses over the line into the left lane. As you can see, the lines are almost non-existent on this road. They're worn off from all the semis that come up and down this road going to the paper mill. And they haven't been repainted in years. Now the last update, it actually got really jerky in this curve up ahead, but it's been fixed since then, so nice and smooth again. Right up ahead, the lane splits into a left turn lane, and autopilot always wants to go to the left, following this line here, and I have to take over. I like to manually slow down ahead of this curve, just because it's a pretty sharp curve. So it handles it well though. Sometimes when it takes off from the lights here, it'll try to jerk the wheel to the right or left for no reason. So I'm going to start going, and this one's fine. Sometimes it doesn't handle this curve well. Intersection is right in the curve. Did all right that time. Kind of back and forth a little here. 20 is just too slow. Nobody goes 20. I mean, you see that truck probably going 35. 25 is a good speed through here. Unfortunately, we're limited to exactly the speed limit. So here's another downside. When we get to this light, it's stopping us more than a car length back from the line. And at this light, even if you're at the line, you can't see that way to turn. So really needs to pull up to about a car length ahead of the line so that I can see. And here's an example of a road that is 20 miles an hour and really should be higher. If you're going 20, you're really slowing up traffic. Obviously no traffic right now, but when there is traffic. cars are getting way ahead of me. There's actually a car right on me for some reason. I don't know why they're not just passing me. And no lines on the road on this bridge, so I had to take over. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, depends on the lighting. So I'm actually holding in the accelerator to go a little faster. Around 25 is fine, 20 is just way too slow. Most people are going 30. And this part as well, it's still 20 technically until you get around this next curve through the light. So if you're holding in the accelerator while you come to a light or it wants you to verify, it'll actually yell at you. And I'm holding in the accelerator. I had my hand on the wheel too. I know a lot of people say to just hold in the accelerator to go a little faster, but then you have the problem of the car yelling at you constantly every time you go through a green light. I really hope they bring back the +5 for traffic lights and stop sign. And the speed limit actually goes up to 55 right here once you go out of the city limit, but it doesn't think it does until this sign up here. So now I can set it up. So as we come into this town, usually they have speed traps set up, and the speed limit drops from 55 to 45 and then to 35. So you've got to make sure that you scroll down ahead of time. I wish that the car would know that the speed limit's going to drop and start slowing down ahead of that, but it doesn't. That would be an awesome feature. So again, here it slows down to 35, but you want to make sure that you're actually going, less than 40 by the time you hit that speed limit sign, because they usually park right here. So here's an interesting one. There's a flashing yellow light right here, and I'm going to verify to go through it, but it's going to try to stop every time it blinks. So here's one where, when I've done this before, as soon as it starts to go, the steering wheel is going to whip to the left. Actually, it did fine that time. That was on the last update that it did that, so maybe that's been fixed. So you'll see, just as I come over this hill, there's a Burger King sign that's down the hill. And it's going to try to stop. Stopping for traffic control for a Burger King sign. And what are we doing? Still slowing down. Oh, it still thinks that Burger King sign is a stop sign. Over and over again. And then it figures it out. Oh, that's not a stop sign? Not a stop sign. I love that the car slows down for tight curves on its own. It handles these curves really well. I'm actually turning left, so taking over. So here's another one where once it turned green, it would whip to the right for some reason. We'll see if that happens this time. So I'll tap the accelerator, and it does fine. So they must have fixed that bug. Coming to a stop sign here. And this one actually stops past the line. Stop sign's there. So it doesn't know what to do. Obviously it can't go straight. But even though it stops past the line, it's still not enough to see. You can see in that direction a little bit, probably not from the B pillar, but this direction you cannot see at all. The only way to see is if you pull up. Yes, I know. The only way to see is if you pull up almost a car length beyond the line, almost into the intersection. So speed limit turned 35 there, but it doesn't slow down until way up ahead. So manually scroll that down. Sometimes there's a cop sitting right there in that parking lot, catching speeders. So you have to make sure you're actually going good speed. And up ahead again is the flashing yellow light. Most of the time when you come to this, it wants you to confirm. Well, that time it only did it once. Going the other way, it happens almost every time. It wants you to confirm over and over again every time it flashes. Here's another instance coming up of incorrect speed limits. The speed limit goes up to 45 right here, but the car doesn't think it does, so it'll only go 35. So you have to hit the accelerator. Now once it says it's 45, then it actually goes up to 55. So right up here it'll say 45, but it actually turns 55 right here. Now once you're in this section that is divided with the grass median, you can scroll up to 60, and that's fine. But up ahead, when the median ends, it suddenly wants to limit you to 45 again. So right here the median ends, and you're on a non-divided road. It doesn't realize it for about 30 seconds here. Right up when we pass this little produce stand here, it realizes it and wants you to only go 45 miles an hour, even though it's 55. So what I usually do is just scroll it down to the upcoming speed limit of 35 and then slowly let off the accelerator as I come into town. Otherwise, the car is going to have you going 45 long after you should have slowed down. So the city limit is right here at McDonald's. But it doesn't drop the speed until here. Now up here's a rough spot. I don't know if you can see this, but there's a line on the right-hand side that's kind of out a ways from the curb. There are a lot of spots where the line doesn't exist, so the car recenters itself over and over again in the center of the lane. So right here, it'll center itself, and then it'll realize there's a line, go back center to the left, then there's no line again because it's worn off. It'll center to the right a little, and then back to the left. I wish it would just hold to the left line if the right line is disappearing. So we'll see what happens when this turns green this time. If it'll try to whip to the right, or if it'll just go straight. Nope, perfect. So they must have fixed that bug. It was really annoying to use through here. 20 miles an hour in this intersection. It's a little slow, and sometimes it loses itself like that. So yeah, at 25 miles an hour it's fine, but when you're limited to 20, it's just going too slow in the intersection. So it does surprisingly well on this road, despite the little curbs that jut out and the road kind of curves to the left and then back to the right. So it does fine there. And then it goes back. It doesn't cross the line at all, so that's good. Yeah, it tried to go to the right that time. Not sure why. So again, we're on this road going the opposite direction now. Lots of places where the lines just are worn away and you can't see them very well. People park on the side of the road going this direction. And sometimes if there's enough space, it'll try to go past them. Normally it does this. It just stops. You have to take over and go around them. So it'll come to a stop behind this truck instead of just going. So they'll have to fix that. So I've got to drive down the middle of the road here. And then if a car was coming, I would come over here, stop, and let them pass, and then go over. A lot of the smaller roads here just don't have lines at all. So, don't know how a robotaxi is going to work if it can't go down any of these roads. So, a long way to go, I think. Eventually, to be a robotaxi, it's going to have to learn how to go down roads that don't have any lines. Or if lines are gone, especially if they were there and now they're not, the car can't just stop in the middle of a drive if it's truly a robotaxi. So coming down this hill, there's a huge pothole here. The car will not go around it. There's no way I'm going to hit that, so I'll have to take over. We come to the stop sign up ahead. Does fine. The speed limit actually turns to 20 after the stop sign, but it doesn't think it does until we get to the sign way up ahead. So you really want to scroll down, keep it at 20. The car does fine at 20 through here until you get up ahead where the line is faded. So right here the line is faded, almost gone, and actually handled it. So let's see if they fix this bug. It was trying to pull me into the guardrail here. Yes. Still does. That's not cool. That only happened with the stop sign update. Now here's another stop sign. The only way to see is if you pull up and then look. Speed limit right past this red light is 20, but it thinks it's 40 still. So once we go through here, gotta make sure you scroll down. I was actually pulled over here when I was, I'm sorry. Oh, it's 25, not 20. I was actually pulled over here when I was 16. So, careful about this section. Very, very sharp curve. Blind. Lines are worn. Yeah, I can't handle that. Now right here, the line is gone. So it tries to center itself, but it's actually two lanes here. One's turning right and one is going straight. So So we're on a little side road. Actually doesn't have a speed limit, so I just set it to 15 just to go up this hill. And you'll see it stops a car length behind the stop sign. I can't see anything. There's a big wall of bushes here, bushes there. You have to pull up all the way to the intersection to see anything that way and that way. It has no idea what the speed limit is. It's 25, but it doesn't show it here, so it's just gonna go whatever I set it at. I could set it to 50 if I wanted to. Normally does a really good job on this road. As curvy as it is, it's surprising. I'm hoping it'll turn red so I can see what happens at this light, but I'll just let it go through. The road actually curves to the right. There's a road that goes straight, but it's actually a left turn. And went a little to the left, and there was a car there, so I wasn't going to let it go. Again, we've got roads that have no lines, and I doubt they'll ever paint lines on this. It's freshly paved, but it's a very narrow road, so you've got to make sure if another car is coming, you get all the way as far right as you can to let them get by. And here's another example. I'm actually past the stop sign. I can see right fine, but I cannot see left at all. So you've really got to just inch your way forward while leaning forward. There's no way that B-pillar camera is going to see left there. Now, maybe robotaxis limited to cities or certain neighborhoods or something like that, like Waymo is doing. That might be possible soon. But there are just so many cases just in my town and the couple surrounding towns where Autopilot just can't handle really basic things. And these aren't complicated situations either. So, I mean, I love what Autopilot can do. I'm excited about the future, but I just think that the future where the car 100% drives itself and goes and makes money for you while you're at work, I think that's a long way off. The stop sign and traffic light update actually made me think it's further out than I thought before. I mean, it stops really well. It sees the lights, it stops, sees the signs and stops. But what it does after that, I just don't think it can handle really basic maneuvers, let alone the complicated maneuvers that it's going to have to handle if it can truly be a robotaxi and drive anywhere on its own. Just thought you might like to see a few examples of where it doesn't work and see what it does in some normal situations. So anyway, thanks for watching. Hopefully the next update brings more improvements and it gets better. See you next time.